in Europe for a castle. If I push a button, it opens up from the middle side. It goes like this, yeah? It's got the first glass that is painted. You have castles on the left and right side of his dynasty, and then the coat of arms of everybody in Europe that is actually connected to our royal family. On the top one, you have like a pyramid-shaped glass, regular glass. When you push the button, both of them open up, and this becomes the garden again. That same mechanism is working today. Remember, it was made in 1910. Just to give you guys some context, the first stadium in Romania with a retractable rooftop happened about 7 years ago. We had a technology for more than 100 years ago. I think if you would agree, if you look around yourselves, the woodwork in this particular saloon is quite amazing, very detail-oriented. Everything was made by one guy, actually his team, of course. If you look at that staircase, the round one is just decoration. It doesn't really go anywhere. But on the bottom side, you see somebody's face, like he's holding the staircase on his shoulders. On the bottom side of the staircase, you see? That is the face of Bernard Ludwig. In his workshops in Vienna, everything in this particular saloon was made in terms of woodwork, including those two statuettes carved in oak tree. The first one belongs to a prince of Zollern who set up the dynasty back in the 1400s in Germany. The left one is one that used to be a Catholic. During the Protestant Reform in Germany, he had to renounce his religion to become a Lutheran. And after a while, he felt bad about it. He went back to being a Catholic. But to show his repentance to God, he decided to live the rest of his life with only half a beard. So if you look closely at that statuette, you can see he only has the left side of his beard. It's actually not a defect from the manufacturer. It's his life story. It's the way he was trying to tell God that his story because he had to give up Catholicism in the first place. I told you in terms of paintings, everything in the castle is a copy. The exception that are all these all around this. All these castles. These are all paintings castles that were owned by his family in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. We used to own over 40 castles. Very, very long time. The reason I did the original because they're actually not they're not paintings, they're actually wood carvings. And then we were together to create a sensation of the painting. It's quite amazing woodwork. On top here, we have the first harmonica clock in Romania. The clock on the bottom is powered by a magnetic mechanism. Harmonica on the top used to work, didn't because of the communism, nobody took care of it. And now needs to be restored. However, it's very, very costly. I'm not sure when we can restore it. Otherwise, like I said, all the major events were happening in this particular saloon, where the king kept pushing the button, trying to brag about his invention.
Where's the button? Sorry? Is the button still here?
Yeah?
The button to press.
The button is with the ladies. Yeah, it's in a different chamber because this castle had its own power plant behind the castle, and that they used to power the entire castle, including the illumination system, the ventilation system, and everything here. And the button is actually over there, but it's controlled by only the ladies who work here. In the summertime, they actually open it up just to ventilate the inside of the castle a little bit better. They don't keep it for too long, maybe 5-10 minutes. Otherwise, they can damage the tapestry around. Now, if you guys are good, let's go to the place where it's usually guys are getting very excited about. It's the armory room, where they used to keep the weapons collection.
Y ese techo que está ahí arriba.
You have that room it's the same here. Imagine that you were walking since 19.
Yeah, you see the ladies' rooms, you have these two symbols. You have St. George slaying the dragon here, and St. Mary on the other side. That's because our king and queen, well, actually our king was a Catholic and his wife Elizabeth was a Protestant. That's why you have these two symbols. We as a country were, and we are still an Orthodox nation. However, we allow them to keep their religion on the condition that the kids will be raised in the Orthodox religion. I'll tell you something that actually a very sad element about their daughter, because, anyway, I'll tell you later. So this is now the armory room. Now, whatever you see here in terms of weapons, just remember every single of these weapons are actually gifts. These are not weapons, because if you look closely, they're dating back to the 16th, 17th, 18th century. They were not battling in the First World War with these type of swords.
Okay.
These are weapons that people who would come to visit the king, they would bring weapons from their own region. That's why they're grouped by different region. Sometimes they have sigils in front of the weaponry complex. That means they come from noble families in Europe. Most of them connect to the royal family of Romania because they have lots of different connections in Europe back then. Most of the military leaders in Prussia, Austria, Switzerland, they were based from the dynasty of Hohenzollern, his family, basically. The most important thing in this whole room, of course, everything is super impressive, but the knight's armor on the horse is called the Maximilian. It's unique in Europe. Nobody else has it. It's a knight's armor dating back to the 12th century. So the knight's armor itself is weighing about 35 kilograms. That tells you instantly that this was never used in a battlefield. It was only used for parades, because nobody can battle with 35 kilograms on it, of course. And this is a gift from his father when he first came to visit his son in Romania. Now, the thing that I haven't told you is that when he chose to become the king of Romania, his father was not very happy with that decision. He had much bigger plans for his son. So they didn't speak to each other for about 15 years. So when he finally stepped over his ego to come to visit his son, this is the gift that he brought Karol. Yeah? Ladies, in the corner, you will find the travel trunk of our queen. So now, you have to stop complaining the more heavy luggages because that's what we used to do it. Yeah, whenever you're traveling around. The decorations on the box, by the way, they were made by our queen, because she was also a queen. Like I said, she was a very impressive lady. I'll tell you more information about her. But all these symbols on them, were actually painted by our queen. And of course, she used to have more of these because they were coming here for about 6 months a year. You can better take a couple of dresses of this, but this is the one that was kept up until today. If you look on the ceiling, you will see a lot of sigils and mottos and emblems of different royal families in Europe, most of them connect to our royal family. The one that is most important for us, if you check out the chandelier over there on the right side, on top of that you have a sigil saying Nihil sine Deo. That in Latin means nothing without God. And that is the official motto of the House of Romania, because our king, while Catholic, he was a very, very religious person. So he wanted that Nihil sine Deo motto to be present in the Romanian coat of arms. The fireplace, very, very impressive. The battle scene here is a historical battle scene in Romanian history that we eventually lost. And because we lost this battle, we had to invest in the empire for the next 400 years. But the whole battle scene in Nicopolis is carved in wood, in gold plated with 14-karat gold. On the bottom side, this big sword is quite heavy. It's about 17 kilograms heavy. It's got a Latin motto carved on it, on the sword, saying, "You will be delivered with eternal life." Having said that, what do you think of this sword? Killing, yeah, but what kind of killing? Decapitation. It was for execution. That is the execution sword. Typically, it's weighing more like 17 kilograms. If somebody knows how to use it, it works like a filter. Yeah? With one shot, normally you should be able to. You're cutting somebody's head, so you don't want to do it like this way. Now, let's go to the annex. We have some other weapons. It's not an issue. So this, if you look around here, you will see you don't have too much weaponry like in the other room. However, most of these come from Asia. And that's why there's not so many, because our connections with the Asian countries were not as extensive as the ones in Europe. You have the ones from Asia Minor, from the Middle East, Japan. These bows come all the way from Japan, for example, Pakistan, from India. The cabinet, for example, here in the back, it's all about Turkish weaponry. If you look closer, you can see by the shape of the swords, they're curved, they're not straight like in the other room. And most of them are embellished with precious and semi-precious stones. This is because back then, in the Ottoman Empire, having a weapon was not only for going to war, it was also a symbol of your place in society. That's why most of them have ivory handles, you have mother of pearl, opal. The top one, for example, is a gift from the Sultan when he came to visit the king once, and that entire sword is covered in shark skin. It's a very, very valuable type of embellishment. If you look, what I like about this castle, of course, among other things, is that when you're in your room, for example, right now you are in the other room. So if you look on the walls, you have weapons. If you look on the windows, you have men handling weapons. If you look on the door, once you close the door, on this side, you will see the design of a weaponry door. Once you switch in the other room, a different design will be, so everything when you are in the room, everything connects to that particular design. Once you go to a different room, everything changes. For example, we're going to go in the mirrors room, where if you open the doors, on the side of the door is completely a mirror, right? So everything connects to that particular design. Like I said, everything was made here with a very great attention to detail. Like we are, if you're coming to see the king with a, let's say, a normal matter, you can be staying here for hours. This is the waiting room for the king's office. If you're coming with an important urgent matter, you come straight. Otherwise, you can stay here for hours. While everything on that shelf is original, that actually used to be part of his personal library. So basically, you'll come over there, I like to say just like in a dentist. You'll take a book, you'll have a seat, and then when the king was ready for you, he would invite you over. From here, all the way to the music room, the entire style is going to be German. It's going to be either Baroque or Renaissance, but German nonetheless. What a combination of both. Just because these are the rooms that the king was spending the most time in. The other rooms he was spending only when somebody was coming to visit. But these, his office and the library, he was spending the most time in these rooms. So he wanted to feel comfortable because, of course, he was German. In the first of those rooms, of course, is a tiny office. So you have his office, his desk on the left side with a small pillow under his chair. That's not because he was short, it's because of his injuries in the War of Independence. He didn't actually sit too long because he's having trouble sitting. That's why you have this long hallway that he was using to go back and forth, very rarely actually sitting at his desk. Behind his desk, you have a statuette in bronze representing the Aquila, which is a symbol of Wallachia. In Romania, one thing that I haven't told you yet is we have 4 historical regions: Wallachia, Transylvania, Moldova, and Dobruja. And for each of those regions, we have a symbol, which is typically a wild animal. Now, for the region we are in right now, Wallachia, which is the southern part of Romania, close to Bucharest, the symbol is the one of the Aquila, which is the royal eagle. Now, in terms of paintings, he wanted paintings of his own family. So we have one of his father. There used to be one of his mother over there, but they took it, I think, to refurbish in Bucharest. And on the other side, we have himself. When he first came to Romania, you can see, even though he's bearded, he's quite young, 27 years of age only. And then his uncle on the right side, while this huge vase was a gift when he turned 70 years of age. Yeah, this is also carved in bronze, but in the middle, you can see carved the image of the castle of Sigmaringen, where the king spent most of his childhood, actually when he was born, and spent most of his childhood in Germany. Yeah, he came when he was 27. However, he went on to have the longest reign in Romanian history for 48 years. He was the longest king. He was there until his death in 1914 when he was 35. Now, this is a very important painting for us for a very simple reason. You have Queen Elizabeth with the couple's only daughter. Yeah, they only had one daughter. Her name was Mary, and she died young when she was 3 years and 7 months old. They never had a second child. That's why this is very important for us, because she died so young, we didn't get a chance to paint her much. And our second king had to be adopted because of that, because they never had a second child. So Ferdinand, our second king, had to be adopted when he was 24 years of age, which is very weird to be adopted. But they brought him over, they built him the Peleș castle, so everything was set up for him just to come over, get a wife, and then later become the king of Romania, which eventually happened in 1914. The Romanian coat of arms over here on the fireplace, you see the 4 regions with the 4 symbols: Aquila, top left, bull for Moldova, top right, bottom left, eagle for Transylvania, the 2 dolphins for Dobruja, which is the place that we have the Black Sea, so that's why we have the 2 dolphins as a symbol, and underneath, Nihil sine Deo, the official motto of the House of Romania. And then finally on the right side, we have what I like to call the embodiment of work first and then pleasure after. So after you conduct all the important business over there, you come here, you mostly socialize, you drink your tea, you talk about pleasantries. However, not everybody would be allowed here. If you were a very good friend of our king or a member of his family, he would invite you over. Otherwise, your experience in Peleș Castle would have ended right here. You would do the 180 and then go back to where you came from. From here on, it's only for the people in the presence of whom the king felt comfortable with. Yeah? Library. Now, in the library, what's worth to be mentioned is that every single book here is an original book. So nothing has been changed, everything is original. Most of them are written in English, German, and Italian, and they refer to architecture and art because that's what the king was passionate about, especially architecture. But there used to be a lot more books. For example, if you look at the second level, all these used to be filled with books. However, when the communists confiscated the castle, they burned most of them. They had very low regard for the royal family, like that. But if you look closely in that part of the library, you will see 5 sections. Right, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you look closer, you will see one of those 5 sections doesn't look like the other 4. Which one do you think it is? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but one of them is actually a bit different from the other 4. Which one? The second one, right? Yeah. It's because of the number of shelving and everything. Yeah. So this is actually a secret door. We've got a button over here. Because if you look closely, these are actually fake counters. The secret door, it provides access to his bedroom. This is the closest, easiest way for him to go from here because he was spending about 7 hours, even 8 hours a day. When he was here, he was not coming on vacation. He was working, especially in the desk, but then also in the other desks. So the closest and the easiest way to go to his bedroom, through here, get a few moments of rest, and then come back and conduct the rest of his business. Yeah. Then in the back over there, over here in the back, we have the mailbox of our queen. That's how she used to get mail. Yeah, again, all the decorations on the box belong to our queen, which you can see in a small white statuette. Her favorite chair. Well, actually, we're going to get to see that chair 2 rooms from now. She used to sit at least 3 hours a day in that chair. And then on top, you have those 2 castles of Sigmaringen, where the king was born, and Hohenzollern, where the dynasty, where his dynasty was actually based. Yeah, because they had a big dynasty, like I said, dating back in the 1400s. They have 450 years of history back in Germany. A very, very wealthy, very important family in Europe at the time. Now, the second part of his office, we won't be able to go inside, but you can take a picture from the outside. It's quite impressive in terms of woodwork. They use 14 different types of wood essences to make everything in this particular room on the left side. The second part of his office, basically, this is where he would write letters, respond to correspondence from Bucharest and stuff like that. He was spending about 2 hours a day in this place. Like I said, 14 different types of wood essences. Most of them come from the Carpathians because we have about 7 or 8 of them. The other ones were imported from Switzerland. Why Switzerland? Because when he was visiting his cousin once in Luzerne, in Switzerland, he came across the city hall of Luzerne. He loved the design of the main hall, and he wanted to replicate that in his own castle. So if you ever go to Luzerne, you'll find a lot of similarities to whatever you'll find in this particular room, especially the statuettes. The statuettes, if you look closely, you might think they're made of metal because they're very shiny and everything. Even the stuff, the one on the table, for example, you might think that's metal. But it's actually carved wood, gold-plated, with 24 karat gold. And the ones on the left side as well. They used rose gold and yellow gold the same, just to create a different chromatic difference. Now here, because we spent so much time focusing on our king, it's time to talk about our queen a bit. Yeah? This is the private space and the preferred space of our Queen Elizabeth. You can see it's a very artistic chamber. One thing that I haven't told you about her is that she was a painter, she was a musician, and she was a writer as well. She used to love writing poems. And also, because she was fluent in Romanian, she went around the village of Sinaia, talked to peasants, gathered Romanian old stories, and translated them into German. Whenever she was feeling artistic, for example, the picture here below, it's a painting that she actually painted in this very castle. At the third level, she has her own painting saloon inside Peleș Castle. Whenever she was feeling artistic, having like a private concert, or you can see herself here playing the piano in Bucharest. So whenever she was having a concert where she was writing a poem or something, she was never using her name, Queen Elizabeth of Romania, but she was using a pseudonym, Carmen Silva. So if you ever see a book written by Carmen Silva, first of all, it's going to be very, very expensive because it's a piece of history, and also just remember it was actually written by our Queen Elizabeth of Romania. Yeah? That's why you see on the windows, a lot of these scenes, they belong to Romanian kids' stories like Sleepy Beauty, Snowy White, you know, that kind of stories. We have our own versions of those, and those because she was very much in love with Romanian folklore. And we have them over the walls and on the windows, while on this side is mainly scenes from the Bible. If you look around, you will see that this place does not have a fireplace. Remember I told you in the car, they had internal heating. So, now they opened up the room. Yeah, so if you put your hand here, you'll see where the heat is coming from. Yeah, they have piping in the walls, and they have these exits that, especially in the winter time when they were actually in Bucharest, the people who were taking care of this place, they were starting the system, who is the same system back then as it is now, to heat up the place because the wood in the castle needs a certain amount of temperature to be preserved. And obviously in the winter time, because it was so cold in Romania, they have to turn up the heating system. Now, as you can see from the inside of the doors, you're going to step into what I call the most impressive room in the whole castle. This is called the Florentine room, as in Florence, Italy. A lot of Italian art. Only if you look at the ceiling, the attention to detail by which it's carved in wood and gold plated with 24 karat gold. These two chandeliers made with crystal, but the colored elements, they're actually Murano glass all the way from Venice, brought all the way from Venice. On the right side, these two cabinets come from Florence, with the bottom side gold plated and the top side filled with semi-precious stones. There's actually a combination that if you press the right ones, you have secret cabinets coming out from the main cabinet. It's actually quite a cool feature. The fireplace, super impressive, because if you look closely, it's made with two different types of marble. The bottom side is made with something that we call rushkica. It used to be a very valuable Romanian marble. We had only one mine of it. We don't have it anymore because during the parliament, when they built the House of Parliament in communism, the communists took the whole mine. So we don't have it anymore. That's why the House of Parliament, while it's not the biggest in the world, it's the heaviest in the world because of the amount of marble they used to build it. The top one is actually Venetian marble, and that's a representation of Michelangelo's De Medici tomb in Florence. It's a copy of that. The only original painting inside this castle is the one on top, if you look up. Yeah? However, I bet you had no idea to look up unless I told you so. Right? But they thought about it because there's no point in painting the top of the ceiling without nobody noticing it. So they figured about every single detail. So what they figured is that nobody walks into a room looking up. If you walk into a room, you look around. So if you look around, they place this particular mirror right over here. So if you look in the mirror, you're actually able to appreciate the painting on top and also appreciate it standing like it's supposed to be appreciated. So like I said, attention to detail here was quite paramount. They thought about pretty much every single detail when it comes to this room. The paintings here now, they're copies, of course, but even the original ones, when they used to have the original ones, they used to be Rubens and Van Dyck's, which represent the Dutch and the Belgian School of Art. So only in terms of paintings, I would say this room is non-Italian, but otherwise everything breathes Italian Renaissance. Even the way the structure of the wood on the chairs, the royal chairs, you have the king on the right and the queen on the left. This is basically the place where they used to have receptions for dinner parties and very important events, especially in 1933, when they celebrated 50 years of Peleș Castle, the half centenary. They celebrated the reception. Now, here we are in the Florentine room. So if you look at the inside of the doors, very nicely curved, we have Italian art. We're going to step into the mirror saloon. So you will see on the other side of the doors, you will have huge mirrors brought from Venice, because this is the mirror saloon that we're going to step into. So when these doors close, there's going to be a huge mirror for the whole wall. You have a second one on the left side, and the third one over there. And you might think they're just randomly placed, but they're not. While they're here to create this additional space, they're actually placed in the exact place where you can enjoy the three saloons that have access to this particular one. For example, if you look here, you will see in the background the Moorish saloon. If you look here, you will see the main saloon. If you look in the other one, you will see the dining room, which is the only three places that actually this saloon has access to. So very, very, like I said, detail is very, you can see the gentleman, right? This is the dining room, yeah? The dining room is the place, obviously, where they have this huge dining table. This dining table is actually, you can make it smaller. This is as big as it gets. Yeah? You can accommodate anywhere from 34 to 36 people on the table. It becomes smaller as well. In the background, that furniture, it's actually, if you look closely, the middle part of the furniture is a bit drawn frontwards. You can actually go around that main furniture, and you will find a food elevator. It will bring the food from the kitchen downstairs all the way up. So this way the servants will not have to go down the stairs, so they can just serve the royal family from here. Everything would be much, much easier. If you would come over for a visit, you will have to announce at least 3 months in advance, because the menus are made 2.5 months in advance. Mostly what was served on the table was fish, because our king was crazy about fish food, especially Romanian fish soup. He sent his personal chef to the Delta of the Danube River. He spent 2 weeks with the villagers in the wilderness, sort of, poor guy, just trying to learn how to make Romanian fish soup, and then he called them over to make it for the king. He was crazy about it. Also a bit forced because of his injuries in the War of Independence. He couldn't eat solid food, like too much. So he was mostly focusing on breadcrumbs and fish food because it was easier for his digestive system as well. Yeah. Actually, when he died, the night he died, in the morning, they found by his bed a small plate with military breadcrumbs. That's all he was eating towards the end of his life because of his injuries in the War of Independence. He died when he was 75 years of age. Now, in the Revolution Square in Bucharest, you will find a statue of Carol on the horse, and the horse has one leg up. Typically, that means that the guy on the horse died in battle or with wounds associated with the battlefield. But in this case, it's not true. He died in his own bed just over here when he was 75 years of age. Here you have the Moorish saloon. Just like the name suggests, Moorish, yeah, a lot of Moorish influences from the southern part of Spain, North Africa, from Morocco mostly. If you look at the ceiling, carved in wood, this time is plated with rose gold, not yellow gold. The tapestry is handmade, and the weaponry comes mostly from Morocco. In the background, that mosaic with the oriental motifs made with marble, you will see 6 holes in the middle of it, like a triangle. Through those holes, you have the water from the nearby river of Sinaia flowing through, creating their own fountain inside the castle. So you have water flowing through the vineyard. On the right side, you have the playing saloon. They used to place chess, cards, dominoes in this society games. That was the preferred saloon of our second king, Ferdinand. He used to come here very often. He was a huge smoker. He used to smoke about a packet a day, but he used to smoke it in that particular saloon. And then finally, since every man needs a man cave, I'll give you the one of our first king, which is now we call the Turkish saloon because the first visit, the soldier from Istanbul came to visit the king. He was welcomed here, but otherwise, after this visit, this was turned into a very like relaxation center, right? So if you look even inside, you have this relaxing mood type of design. The carpets brought from Istanbul, the tapestry, everything from Istanbul. As soon as you walk in, on the doors you have quotes of the Quran written on the left and right side, and also on the windows you have quotes of the Quran. On the right side, there's an element on the table that gives away exactly what this room was actually used for. You will see a shisha, or a hookah, or a nargila, we call it nargila here. That was basically the preferred relaxation method of our king, but tobaccoless. He hated tobacco, so they had tobaccoless shishas. This was only also a room where you can smoke. So if you were a smoker coming from countries away, visiting the king, you would be allowed to smoke here. Men in particular, women not too much. The only woman allowed to smoke here was not our queen because she was not a smoker, but a very good friend of our queen was Princess Sisi of Austria. She was a chain smoker. She smoked a lot of cigarettes, and she was the only woman allowed to smoke in this particular school. Otherwise, it was mostly men, and this was most of the place where the king would spend most of the time. The queen would only come here when Sisi was coming over. Otherwise, it was more like a men chamber, like I said, a man cave. But yeah, and this used to be a second entrance just behind you guys, where now you have the windows. This used to be the second entrance. You would come over. This would be like a small botanical garden where the queen would take care of her plants. And then once they finalized the construction of this particular chamber, they closed the whole thing. And this was turned into a saloon, a French saloon. Lots of, some French influences, not too much. Our connection with the French during the time of our king were not so extensive. Yeah. Așa se face, dar nu e. Nu mai dus la o interpretare.
On the walls, we have the rest of the Oriental Armory collection. And that wall, the Carrara marble wall, the wall that is behind the spot.
So, I told you they have the kitchen downstairs, they have the main floor, then they have two more floors and the mansard. This is why they call this the Peleș, because Peleș has 99 rooms. This one in total has 160 rooms. Now you saw we went to the first floor, which is the main exposition. Today the second floor is actually closed. But if you ever come back, who knows? The other floors are just as impressive. You have the bedrooms, the cinema room, there's a second armory room, lots of private saloons and stuff like that. So because they have so many levels, they have an elevator to the left. On the left side here, the first door is the door of the elevator. Yeah. Now it's not working again because of the communists. We blame them for a lot of things, of course. And we can do that, but during communism, because this place is not very, they only use it for 3 times. When President Charles de Gaulle of France, President Richard Nixon, and Ford of the US came over, the dining room, which is just around the corner, was used as a protocol house, a protocol meeting point. Otherwise, they never used this for anything. That's why some of these things that means TLC, they were pretty much deserted and nobody cared for them.
These visits were during Ceausescu?
2 of them during Ceausescu. Charles de Gaulle came during Gheorghe Budeș, which is our first communist president, and then Nixon and Ford came during Ceausescu's year. The last one was President Ford in 1972.
Okay.
No, sorry, Nixon 72, Ford 82. So here, the reason they used to call this the Hall of Honor is because of the, on the right and left side, you have these huge portraits, 6 of them, 3 on the right, 3 on the left. These are the most important people from the ancestry of the Hohenzollern dating back to the 1400s, all the way up until pretty much every single century is being represented by a very important figure in the dynasty of Hohenzollern that he was part of.
puede comunicar, se van a cuando vienen más de arriba, de afuera.
Así. Dacă pot să urc în hol, mai da. Da, da?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's try.
Trying it out, yeah. Unfortunately, that's what happened. Now, before I let you guys go to the general souvenir shop and then outside, if you want to take some more pictures, just to show you, so obviously you recognize Carol when he first came to Romania. This is him after about 16 years, so you can see what 16 years of Romania does to you. Yeah, it's not an easy place to live. Queen Elizabeth of Romania when she was much younger, of course. The guy who's responsible for about 75% of what you saw today is this guy over here. His name is Karel Liman. He's a Czechoslovakian architect. He was the one who developed the retractable rooftop and pretty much all the artistic elements of the castle that were made during his time. Ferdinand, not here because he used to live in the other castle. Our third king, the guy with the mustache, Carol II, the first king of Romania, actually born in Romania. We used to call him our Playboy king. He had 3 wives and 4 mistresses, that we know of anyway. He eventually left the country shortly before the Second World War. He died in exile in Portugal in 1953 because of lung cancer. And then the last one, young Brad Pitt over here, Michael I, he was the one who was forced to leave the country because of the communists in 1947, came back in the 1990s. I haven't told you, our second Queen Maria was the granddaughter of Queen Victoria of England. And that's our connection with the royal family of England. And because of that connection, Michael was actually the first cousin of Elizabeth II of England, who just died recently. Very, very good friend of Charles. Because of the good friendships, Charles used to come to vacation to Romania very, very often. He has about 7 properties in Romania. He used to come to vacation every single summer. Now that he has a job, not so much, but before he used to come very, very often because of that connection between the two of you. He died in 2017. Like I said, he had 5 daughters. 4 of them are still princesses. The 5th one, Emma Walker, in the US, she was convicted of organizing cockfighting events. Don't laugh. I know.
You're kidding.
No. She was, so as soon as they found her guilty, they took away all of the titles, including a bunch of castles that she was supposed to own in Switzerland. And she didn't do any prison time. She paid $250,000 in fines, but she's no longer a princess of the dynasty anymore because of that.
What did she say she was? What did she say she was?
Cockfighting events. Chicken fighting each other.
Oh.
I know. So guys, I'll see you guys back at the car. Let's do 15-20 minutes from now, yeah? So at 11 o'clock at the most,